a WPC PowerDriver board, and I don't remember the game that this came out of, but the board was sent for a couple of reasons. One, it was stated that it was blowing fuse F107, I guess that is, yeah. Nothing on this board would cause F107 to blow. The game that this goes into has got a problem with the GI circuit associated with F107, so that is going to be something for the client to track down. It was also, this fuse was blown, also F112 was blown, so I've replaced it. I've installed a 1N5401 blocking diode here to protect C11. I've replaced C5, C4, C2. Everything is indicated right there. And this board also came with this DMD controller board, which I have reworked the high voltage section on. The client was using one of the overlay boards to get high voltage, and the fuses, these two 3/8 amp fuses, had been removed, so I replaced those. I did a complete high voltage rebuild. These are new filter caps. Unfortunately, the axial caps that you need for this application are no longer available, so you have to scab in the radials as best you can, and I've done it a couple different ways. This is just one way to do it. This board also was sent along with an indication that there were lines on the display, and there are lines on the display. So I guess while I'm talking about that, let me show you all what that is going to be. So we go into display test, and I can advance this rapidly just by holding the increment button. And I want to get to the point where, okay, it tests the paging of the data from between the CPU board and the display controller. And you can see we've got a ton of page errors. Now this could be a number of different things. It really just means that the CPU board isn't communicating with the DMD controller. In all probability though, this is going to be a RAM error. So I will take this board back to my bench and replace the RAM on it, and then we'll get it back on here. A RAM address error, it said. And then we'll see what happens. So let me do that before I continue testing this PowerDriver board. I have replaced that RAM chip, and I tested it in my Neo-Lock RAM tester just for giggles, and it did test failed. And the best proof, I guess, is that the lines on the display are all gone. So let's go through display test one more time. This will be a lot faster, hopefully this time. Yeah. Okay, we'll wait for RAM test okay. Good to go. So this board is now the golden board. Should last you a good long time. And we're back to testing the capabilities of this PowerDriver board. So we'll go back to the first test, which is solenoid test. I'll make it go. I notice now here I have one flash lamp circuit that's locked on. All right, all the coils are working correctly. Let's do general illumination test now. And all these are dimming correctly. Super nice. We'll do lamps and flashers at the same time. And you can see we still have, this is WPC 89 board, so Q30 or solenoid 22 is probably shorted, but we'll see. And the lamp circuits are all working perfectly fine. So let me get a meter out, and I'm going to test Q30. Actually, we can do something here that's kind of interesting. Let me get out of this test. We're still locked on. Now I can do this on the bench. You cannot do this in a game because you will break something. You know, if you're if I were falling down a cliff or something and I needed a wire to hang on, I couldn't get it to do that. But if I'm trying to shake one loose, it isn't going to come off for any amount of effort. Q30 here is this transistor that I'm pointing to. So for reference, let me show you what happens when I touch the tab of Q32. It is high. Another one high. Here we go. See how that's low? This is providing a path to ground for the what would be flash lamp power via Q30. But since I'm driving this panel with only 5 volts, it's okay to put my logic probe on the tab of that transistor. Don't try that in a game or your bench if you're driving your test panel with more than 5 volts. So one more time back to the bench to fix this Q30. I'm going to leave that on there. I was going to bend it off, but it's just easier to remove if I leave it on there. Here's the transistor that I removed from this board, and it was Q30. So when the client gets his board back, he's going to have to see, or maybe I can look it up if I know the game. But whatever is attached to Q30 is shorted, and it's going to be generally that's a flash lamp, but we'll see. Anyway, we have an opportunity to test a tip 102, so I have my fluke meter. This is a Fluke 179. You only need a simple DMM that's got the diode check function. So put the black lead on the tab of the tip 102 and the red lead on each flanking leg. That is a valid reading, anywhere between 0.5 and 0.7. That is not a valid reading, clearly. That is a direct short. So this thing is shorted internally, and it is switching power to ground continuously. Exactly what it's not supposed to do. Back on the test bench, and I have replaced Q30 cleanly. I found that it had been replaced before. The thing that's a little disturbing about this is that Q30 on Doctor Who is the H flasher. It says Doctor 2 flasher, and this drives 2 flashers, one in the back box and one on the playfield, connected to J1266 and 125.7. So, Mr. Client, with your Doctor Who, check that flash lamp bulb, or those 2 flash lamp bulbs. It's possible that a tab of the flash lamp, the solder tabs, are touching each other or something else. Now this one also was sent with an indication of weak flippers. That has nothing to do with the PowerDriver board. The flipper power comes into, well, it does come into the driver board. It's fused by F112, which was blown, and it goes out J104 all the way over to the Fliptronics board, which I don't have connected. So it is probable that the bridge rectifier on the Fliptronics board has at least one leg of the 4 diode configuration shorted. Let's get back into test, and let's test the not the solenoid, it's the flashers one more time. And there you can see all those flashers are working. So I'm going to take 3 trips to the test bench, 3 trips back to the workbench, but we finally have this PowerDriver board and this DMD controller working correctly together. Thank you so much for sending them.